Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope that you all have been well. Today we're going to be talking about, as the title has made it very clear for you guys, some books. So I am a very versatile as far as my preference of books go, but I wanted to get staple 5 books that kind of anybody can pick up, take something from reading that book and carry it on for the rest of their lives. Honestly, I'm so grateful that I've stumbled across these books, and I will forever speak about them over and over again with my friends, and that's why I'm here, looking forward to sharing it with you guys. So yeah, it was really hard to narrow down, and I'm probably not going to be the best at capturing all the golden pieces of it. I'm going to try my really my best to do these books justice, but I hope that you guys enjoy this. But again, I wanted to throw in a variation of books so that there's something for everybody. I'm going to throw in some spiritual books, some novels, self-development. I know a lot of people that read don't like to really put that category, but it's pretty much just growth mindset type books. So yeah, okay, so the first book that I want to talk about, this might be the only novel that I have that I'll mention, because as strange as it is, it was novels that got me into reading in the first place. So I wanted to attribute this first, it's not my favorite book, but I wanted to attribute the first book towards a book that actually had me fall in love with reading in general. So this was the first time that I finished a book front to back, and where I was like, what is this world? So the book that I am talking about is 8,000 Splendid Suns by Khalid Hassani. So a lot of people that is familiar with this author is more likely familiar with the movie The Kite Runner, and if not that, he's also written The Mountains Echoed. But I would say if I'm ranking them, 1,000 Splendid Suns is very top for me, and then the rest, probably Kite Runner and The Mountains Echoed would be third for me. But 1,000 Splendid Suns, I don't want to give too much away because it truly is a page turner, and I don't want to spoil anything in there. I'm just going to give you the premise of the book is. So the book is based in Afghanistan, so that's one big reason why I connected so much with the book alone. But it's been a while since I've read it, so I want to make sure that if I do mess up the characters and their names, forgive me. But it's around a girl named Miriam, who is 15 years old, I believe, who ends up marrying somebody that is 50, named Rashid. And what ends up happening, so she ends up marrying this man who's 50 years old, and they run into the issue that they can't conceive and have a child. So that's when Rashid goes and brings in a second wife, who happens to be Layla. So naturally, Layla and Miriam are meant to just be and Layla is a young, beautiful, educated girl that comes into this picture. Naturally, Miriam and Layla are meant to be kind of butting heads, but through the novel and the story unraveling, you kind of get their kind of almost sisterhood, and how that bond is created, and how they navigate life going forward. So those are the 3 main characters, but I think the thing that really, for one, it gives you kind of a perception of a country with certain things that you might really be, you might question, how is this even okay? How is this even happening? But this happens to simply be these girls' lives. And a quote that I think kind of captures or I kind of connected with, Layla says, marveling at how every Afghan story is marked by death and loss and unimaginable grief, and yet she sees that people find a way to survive and to go on. This, I'm pretty sure I cried, because there is moments where you find yourself getting very emotional, because you really connect with these people, and it almost becomes as if you are one with that character. As crazy as it sounds, my readers would understand, but basically this to me speaks volumes, because when I went back to visit back home, and like I said, I'm originally from Afghanistan, but I left that home when I was 7 years old, and I revisited when I was 19 years old. I went back to Afghanistan, and that was the one thing that I kind of, despite the depression that I sunk into, just because I was culture shocked with everything that I kind of, that sunk with me. The thing that really was a light in what all that I saw that was very kind of obviously heartbroken, was the fact that despite all of the struggles, despite everything, the folks, the Afghan people, my people really had so much continued hope, continued love, and they found joy in the little things, the little pleasures of life. And it really I think anybody that has an opportunity that hasn't had exposure to something where you are put outside of your own element. So here in the States, we're all pretty fairly blessed, or it just is very perspective shifting, and I highly recommend you guys to read this book. So yes, I gonna stop here because I don't want to ramble on about this book, but I love this book, and I highly recommend you guys to read it. Even if novels aren't something you're into, I think totally you would love this book. Okay, the next book that I want to, the second book that I want to share with you guys is What I Know for Sure by Oprah, none other than Oprah. So I think everybody can say that there is great power in Oprah as an individual, and everything that she had, the path that she has the path that she has kind of paved for other women, other individuals, is truly inspiring. But I think after picking up this book, reading it, her own writing, I was able to grasp a much deeper understanding of Oprah herself, and shift myself to her perspective of life, which is just the most beautiful way to look at life. I think you somewhat are reminded, reading through these pages, you are somewhat reminded of just the beauties of life, and that, through hard times, which we all face, I don't want this to sound like I'm over here saying like life is, but that's really what this book has done for me. So I'm going to share a quote here. She shares a lot about her struggles. So she kind of goes through different periods of her life, and then at the very end of it, she'll close out with what I know for sure is, and the learning from that particular event, which I think is brilliant, because I think that's how we all should be approaching life. So when we go through trials, we should kind of look back and say, well, here's what I've learned from that type approach to it, versus everything's miserable, everything's awful, the world is an awful place. So here, I'm going to quote this, because this is really what the essence of reading is to me. So she says, "Give me a great novel or memoir, some tea and a cozy spot to curl up in, and I'm in heaven. I love to live in other person's thoughts. I marvel at the bonds I feel with people who come alive on the page, regardless of how different their circumstances might be from mine. I not only feel I know these people, but I also recognize more of myself. Insight, information, knowledge, inspiration, power. All that and more can come from a great book." 100%, you guys. 100%. Okay. So during this time, I was doing a lot of, this was right after I graduated, so this quote really was kind of eye-opening. She says, "I recognize then what I know now for sure. If you can get paid for doing what you love, Every paycheck is a bonus. Give yourself a bonus of a lifetime. Pursue your passion. Discover what you love, then do it, says Oprah. I know some of y'all are like, it's hard. I don't know what that particular thing is, but I think deep down, all of us have that fear that has led you to just completely distract what that one thing is. And that's really what it was for me. Me pursuing to do something like this, as easy as it now is to me, I was always worried, you know, what are people gonna think? And then she has a quote that she quoted from Donald Walsh that says, so long as you're still worried about what others think of you, you're owned by them. Only when you require no approval from outside yourself can you own yourself. So that fear, right? What are people going to think? What, you know, who at the end of the day, who really cares if you're doing what you love, and you're truly doing it from a space of passion? You love that thing. Despite it going anywhere or not, I think the beauty in it is that you are putting every bit of you into that passion project, whatever it is, right? This book it's a really short read, actually. The girlfriends that I gave this book to ended up finishing the book within 2 days. I finished it within a week because I wanted to kind of slow it down and take little by little. So that is what I know for sure by Miss Oprah. Okay, and would this even be a book review of my top favorites or favorites if The Alchemist was not included? So I'm sure you've heard it over and over and over again. I'm going to actually personally reread that book, and I feel like it's one of those books that you read, no matter how many times you do, there's something new that comes out of it, given whatever point you are in your life, because I'm a firm believer of the messages that come across you. Someone might tell you one thing, you won't actually receive it until you're ready to receive it, if that makes sense. Because I have read this book, but until the second time I read it, I was just like, because I was in a place in life where I was really ready for that message. So The Alchemist is a novel by the Brazilian author Paulo Coelho. If you guys haven't studied this man, if you've read this book, I highly recommend you to kind of look into some podcasts he's been featured on, some YouTube videos, because he really has a brilliant mind that is just very enlightening to listen to, because he kind of has this approach to life where it's like he's just so sure, right? Because he feels that he's found his moral compass in life, which is what kind of brought this book to life. But he just feels that life is it's not so difficult, it's not as complicated as we make it out to be, it's not as ugly as we make it out to be. The premise of this book is around a shepherd's boy who is kind of in a place where he I think it starts out with him speaking to his father and him telling him that listen, so he tells his father that he has this yearning to travel. So then he meets somebody that kind of tells him that there's a treasure here, to go seek it. I don't really know the exact details of it, but you just get the major messages from it. But he basically goes through this journey, and again, I don't want to give too much away, but he goes through this beautiful journey of finding what this treasure is, and then which you kind of uncover at the very end of the book. Yeah, so the major message in this is that, so here's a quote: remember that wherever your heart is, you will find your treasure. So similar to kind of the message I spoke about earlier, is just finding your passion, and any other thing that you think kind of falls in line with that. Let's see, this one, I think everybody quotes it, but it's still just fantastic. So, and when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you achieve that thing. So I find this to be so true, and this is nothing to say that when you manifest something meaning laying on a couch and you envision and dream of this thing. I think this quote more so says that when you want something, so usually that want is equated to actionable things to achieving that thing, the universe truly does conspire in helping you achieve that thing. So do not get it twisted. Do not get it twisted with the idea of manifesting where you are like meditating and thinking of this thing. I'm just speaking about actionable things that you do. The universe kind of helps you navigate to that endpoint. So I am a firm believer of that. But one thing, if you have read the book, I would highly advise you to go back and read the book, because every time I do, I know I gain something new from it. And like I mentioned, and also if you have read the book, not really into reading that book again, look into the author, look into him, look up some videos and just kind of listen to him speak, because it's very it's heartwarming. The next one is, ooh, I love this book. So Maximum Achievements. This book, you guys, I probably read about 3 years back. When it comes to this genre or this type of book, there's a few like essentialism, breaking the habit of yourself or out of yourself, something along those lines. So there's a few books that kind of tie in, but Maximum Achievements, I think, really sums all of those messages in, and the way that he writes and the way that he explains habit making to your relationships with people. He kind of touches on all different areas, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. So it's strategies and skills that unlock your hidden powers to succeed. So in all aspects, right? I found that luck is quite predictable. He quotes, "If you want more luck, take more chances, be more active, show up more often." Same thing to kind of getting rid of that manifesto mindset, thinking that this thing of life that you envision just will happen to fall into your life. He tells you to show up more, take action more. He extends on that like greatly. No one, another quote, "No one lives long enough to learn anything they need to learn starting from scratch. To be successful, we absolutely positively have to find people who have already paid the price to learn the things that we need to learn to achieve our goals. You have to put in many, many, many tiny efforts that nobody sees or appreciates before you achieve anything worthwhile." Another great one, "The hardest part of any important task is getting started on it in the first place. Once you actually begin work on your valuable task, you seem to naturally motivate to continue," which is so true. So I'm going to give you guys an example. For myself, YouTube, initially, it took me from, I'm now 26 years old. I thought about YouTube in middle school. High school, maybe not middle school, high school. It didn't take me until I was 26 years old to say, I'm just gonna do this thing. And once I started, you guys, there's friction of like editing, filming, friction of I don't know what I'm doing, friction of all sorts of friction that come up. But once you are in motion of doing that thing, it just becomes kind of second nature. Whether you're a painter, whether anything that you're doing, I think it's like a no-brainer that that's what you run into. But yeah, once you actually begin working on a valuable task, you seem to be naturally motivated, because each time I would tackle a hurdle and overcome it and look back, I was so, anytime I do a video, I'm just like super, when it comes to editing and putting it together, I'm like super driven to go back and do it again and again and again and like do better each time. So that's my takeaway from this book. The next book I want to include in here, so this is a book for all of you creatives that are out there. It's it's Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. So Big Magic, essentially, the premise of the book is Elizabeth basically tackling any questions or fears that you have about starting I don't want to say passion project because I keep saying that, but if you want to dabble into your creative side, but there's the little voice, the fear that tells you not to. She basically addresses any question that you might possibly have and then give you an answer to it. The biggest thing at the end of it is like, it's okay, so you're afraid of this. Or you're afraid of rejection. So what, right? Oh, this is a perfect one. So, big magic. I'm gonna quote straight from the book. None of it was easy, but that wasn't the point. I had never asked writing to be easy. I had only asked writing to be interesting. And it was always interesting to me. Even when I couldn't do it right, it was still interesting to me. It still interests me. Nothing has ever interested me more. That profound sense of interest kept me working even as I had no tangible successes. And I slowly improved. It's a simple and generous rule of life that whatever you practice, you will improve at. For instance, if I had spent my 20s playing basketball every single day, or making pastry dough every single day, or studying into mechanics every single day, I'd probably be pretty good at foul shots, croissants, and transmissions by now. So that's Elizabeth Gilbert. Do you guys see a theme? And there's a reason for this theme, because I think it is really that simple. With this, I think another big takeaway, I kind of learned it late because I did it after I was in a position after making this decision. But one of the things that I will, if you're somebody that's in high school currently, college, transitioning between, or thinking I want to leave my 9 to 5, and I just want to do my creative thing that I've been dreaming up to do, Elizabeth Gilbert is a big advocate to say, don't add the pressure of making a living from your creative project, your creative outlet, if that makes sense. So she basically says, don't leave your 9 to 5, because once you add pressure, I need to make ends meet with my creative job, like full-time. If I enroll in doing this, she basically says that's the biggest mistake that you can make, because it dulls, you're stressed out about, I need to make ends meet, I need to make ends meet, where you cannot focus well enough to do that thing. So she says, keep your 9 to 5 and then do your creative thing that you have in mind that you've always wanted to do. And I highly recommend that to all of you guys. And I highly recommend that for anybody that is considering leaving a 9 to 5. Think before you do that. We're in crazy times right now. Who knows what's going to happen? A recession might happen. So be grateful for that job. Keep that job. And dedicate, before you go to work, after you come home, to work, right? So do it both, basically, is what I would advise. So the very last book that I want to mention is Educated. Is about, it's not a novel, it's a memoir. So Educated is a memoir of an American writer, Tara Westover. So basically overcoming her survivalist Mormon family. So basically escaping her Mormon family to go after her dreams, which is seeking an education. There is just, I have never had my eyes open to what it means to be a Mormon, and kind of Tara actually goes into very specific details, showing you the dynamic with her father, showing you the dynamic with her brothers, what her role is within that family, and what is expected of her as a Mormon girl in the community that she is brought up in. But it is just a story about resilience. It is a story about, there's just so many things. This was another book that it's a page turner for sure, and you really, really fall in love. I mean, there's times your heart just breaks for Tara, and some of the other characters, other women that are in that book. It's a beautiful, beautiful story. And after I finished the book, I actually went into YouTube and I watched a video of her on Ellen, I want to say, which I do advise you guys to do. It's just, she's such an eloquent speaker, and hearing her story, who she is now, she's blossomed into this just beautiful person. I don't think she has a lot of presence on social media, which is interesting, but yeah, I highly recommend this book. I probably am not doing it justice by like speaking as calmly as I am about this book, but when I finished this book, I was telling everybody about it. This is Tara speaking. She says, "This is a magical place," I said. "Everything shines here. You must stop yourself from thinking like that," Dr. Carey said, his voice raised. "You are not fool's gold, shining only under a particular light. Whomever you become, whatever you make yourself into, that is who you always were. It was always in you, not in Cambridge, in you. You are gold, and returning to BYU or even to that mountain you came from will not change who you are. It may change how others see you. It may even change how you see yourself. Even gold appears dull in some lighting, but that is the illusion it always was. It has never occurred to you," he said, "that you might have just as much right to be here as anyone else." This scene was kind of heartbreaking, but it really touched me because she was going through, I think, this like fancy dinner, and she just was like tripping herself out, saying that I don't belong here. Look at, you know, she was comparing other people and saying that she didn't belong in this space with all these other brilliant people. But she was there in that space, right? But she was in her head, and Dr. Carey was just like, "Girl, you deserve to be here just as much as all these other people." So, an amazing book. All right, y'all, that is the end of it. I will put all the books that I mentioned, their title, the authors down below, and where you can have access to it. So yes, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you got something new from it, and I love talking about books, so just given the ones that I have mentioned, I want you guys to go ahead and share some of your favorites down in the comments section, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks so much again for tuning in, and also don't forget to subscribe.